Okay, so we're going to put together a brief survey using Google Forms. So log on to your Gmail account using your maricopa.edu email address. When you come to the inbox, go to the upper right-hand corner and click on the Google Apps icon, the 9 squares here. What we're looking for is the Google application for Google Forms. It's not on my first screen, so just click on More if you don't see it, and you're looking for the icon for Forms. When you're starting out, you can simply click on a blank form to get started. I had actually started one before and had a little difficulty, so here's my untitled form here. I titled that Student Practice Survey. You can give a more detailed description of your survey here. You can mention things like this is an anonymous survey, a confidential survey, and any other instructions you want to give the reader before taking your survey. So we're just going to say this is a confidential survey. For educational purposes only. In an actual survey, of course, you could provide a lot more information and instructions. So with this, we're simply going to provide some basic instructions and then move on to entering our questions. In the interest of time, I'm actually going to copy and paste some of my questions into these areas so that I don't bore you too much with my slow typing. So the first question we're going to use is a multiple choice question. And as you can see, if you click on this drop down menu, there are a number of different questions that you can use. The easiest is probably the multiple choice question. And the question doesn't have to have a title, so I'm just going to paste in the question I want to use, which is please indicate the gender with which you identify. A lot of different ways you can phrase this question, and obviously the choices I'm going to use are female and male. Those are the only two options I'm going to give someone. We could give them the option of prefer not to say or other, but to be more restrictive, we're just going to use those two options. Researchers will tell you that you should be more flexible in the options that you choose. Nowadays, researchers use male, female, transgender male, transgender female, or other to give people all types of options to choose from. I'm not going to do that for this particular case. And you can make the question required so that they cannot submit the survey unless they've completed the question. Again, surveyors will tell you that you really shouldn't make all your questions required, but in this case, to demonstrate the facility, I'm going to do that. So, once I put in my first question, I can click on the plus sign to add a second question, and I'm going to ask people what is your employment status? And the first option is going to be part-time. I'm going to define that as work less than 30 hours per week. The other option is full-time. course, people may disagree with my definition of part-time and full-time, but that's the way I'm going to define it. And the last option is simply unemployed. Not currently working. And again, I'm going to require this. Let's add another question. So we're going to enter your age in years. And this is defined as a short answer question. And the system automatically enters a validation test. And it's a number. So we can validate it. We can have the system actually check to see if the entry is in the proper format. Is it a number, text, the length, or some regular expression? We want this to be a number. And I'd like this to be a number greater than in this case greater than 1, worst case. So nobody enters any negative numbers, but obviously this is a test for college students and adults, so you would expect they would enter in some number greater than 1. You could make that number anything you want. So the next question is going to be about music, and I'm going to pause while I type this in. So I've typed in this question: how many minutes do you estimate you listen to music each week? Now, right off the bat, you should recognize that this may be a difficult question for the average person to provide a reasonable answer to. You're asking someone to estimate how many minutes they listen to music each week. A week is a long time to estimate something that you might do on a daily basis. But let's give it a try. We're going to make this a required question, but also, as you see, it didn't automatically give me any type of validation check for this question. So if I click on these 3 dots in the lower right-hand corner here, then I can provide the response validation. And I'm asking for a number. I'm asking that number be greater than. In this case, we'll just say we need it to be greater than 0, or actually greater than or equal to 0. Because someone might want to say that they don't listen to music at all. Of course, if you change your mind and want to delete a question, you can do that. If you want to duplicate a question in order to reduce the amount of typing that you do, for example, if we have a multiple choice question, but the responses are going to change from question to question, you can duplicate the question. Other things you can do is you can add a title and a description for an individual question. You can add an image if you'd like someone to look at an image and respond to that image. You can add a video, and you can even add a new section of questions. We're not going to get into that level of detail or complexity. For this survey, we're going to keep it simple. But there are other options you can use and other types of questions you can also use. So I'm going to add one more question. So again, in this question, I've asked them, what do you feel is a reasonable price to pay for a college textbook that will be used in one 3-credit course? And again, I've selected short answer from the menu here. I've made this required. I've also selected response validation because I want the response to be a number. I want it to be greater than or equal to $5. I won't consider anything less than $5 to be a reasonable response. And that's it. So let's say this is going to be our survey. At this point, what we want to do is we want to send it. We're not going to collect anyone's information or email address, which is something you could do if you clicked on automatically collect the respondents' Maricopa Community College District email. We're simply going to get a link that we can use to send to people so that they can take the survey. We're going to shorten this to a smaller URL to make it more manageable. And you're going to hold down the Control key and select C in order to copy that URL. So it's copied. You can also click on the word copy to copy it. So with that, you can then go to any email facility and you notice I clicked in the upper left-hand corner here to title my survey using the survey description that I typed in within the form. And now I can return to my Google Forms menu or dashboard, and you can see I have my student practice survey here, and you can see when it's open. Do that, but let's just demonstrate how you would send the survey to someone. So I'm going to leave this and I'm going to go back to my inbox. And I'm going to compose an email. So I'm just going to send this email to myself. The subject of, please take the survey. And I'll simply paste the link using the Google link facility. And this is the link to the survey. I could have simply inserted a link and given that link some title or name. I could have said click here to take the survey. If you want to turn the survey link into an instruction to make it easier for someone to understand. So I could send this email. And when I refresh my inbox, I should have an email from Richard Toller that I can open up and then click on to be taken to the Google Forms survey. So here's the survey. I'm going to answer the questions. I'm going to enter in a bogus name because it's none of your business as to how old I am. And let's see. Here's a hard question. How many minutes do I listen to music each week? Let's say I listen to 15 minutes of music. And here's the problem. Let's say I listen to, make it easier on myself, 10 minutes of music each week, 7 days. So I listen to 70 minutes of music in a week. What do I consider a reasonable price for a textbook? Personally, I think textbooks don't need to cost more than $65. And even that's high, in my opinion. Now, you notice that it gives the person to submit another response. They could actually answer the survey more than once. So we want to go back and change that so people can submit a response only once. The problem is, if you do that, then they have to actually log on to take the survey. which we don't want people to have to do. So we'll have to simply ask them to finish this survey only once. Okay, so with that, I could actually go back to my survey in Google Forms and look to see if I have any responses. I should have one response. So instead of the questions, as you can see, I have one response now. If I click on responses, it will give me some charts to demonstrate graphically the information that I have. Since I only have one response, the graphs aren't very useful. If you click on the icon to create a spreadsheet, it will create a spreadsheet for your responses. Right now, since I don't have a spreadsheet, I want to create a new spreadsheet. And it will show me those responses. And as you can see, it gives a timestamp, it gives the question, as well as the response that each person gave. So for each one of these questions, you can click on the question and see the full text of the question. We only had up to F, but as you get more responses, then we'll have all the responses in a spreadsheet. You can then download this spreadsheet as an Excel file and do the analysis of the information in Excel. You do have some analysis capability within Google Forms, within the Google spreadsheet, but you have much more capability and probably much more familiarization with the analysis if you download it into a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. So what I'll be doing is passing this survey link on to you and asking you to send it out to 30 of your friends and family. Let's just stick to students. So let's say 30 students that you may know, in order to get the responses that will give us a larger database of data to analyze.